Welcome to the D-Shift podcast, where we provide inspiration, motivation, and education to help you transition from the challenges of divorce to discover the freedom and ability to live life on your own terms. Are you ready? Let's get this shift started. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the D-Shift podcast. And I am so excited to introduce somebody that I met the beginning of the year, I think. And we have actually had a chance to work together, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I want to introduce you to Cece Shatz, and I want to make sure that I read this correctly. So I've got notes today. She is fondly known as the doyenne of relationship building. She's the founder of newstreamingnetwork.com and WGSNDB Going Solo Network radio, podcast, and TV. And that happens to be on over 50 media platforms all over the place. And I want to talk about this for quite a bit with you, Cece, because I think it's so important. And she's a media visionary, author, and a relationship coach. So, Cece, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here, because you have created something that's really unique in the world for people going through divorce or people dealing with being single or relationship changes. But before we get into all of that good stuff and sharing that, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you have made getting the message out about relationships kind of your mission in life.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I'm just pretty much like everyone out there. I went through a bad divorce, right? And so as I went through the bad divorce, I started to make that transition into being single and thinking, well, now what am I going to do? And because I was in the divorce support group, which I actually took over, I realized how important that was for me, how it really gave me the connection that I needed, the community that I needed to be able to move forward. Because we feel so alone when we're going through divorce, because our whole world is shifting, everything's moving around us. For me, it was really probably the first time I was ever actually alone in my life, because I got married right out of high school. I got divorced a couple times, I hate to say, but I did. I went through relationships. And I found myself, after a long-term relationship, I found myself again alone. And it was very hard. I didn't even know who I was. And I realized then that I'm not the only person that experiences this, which is why I wanted to continue, which is why I developed the Going Solo Network, which is now, we still have that going, and we also have the media part going. So yeah, so basically that's it. And I'll make a long story short, but it was a lot of years in between that, because I've been divorced since '08 and I'm still single. So yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. And this has been a reoccurring theme I found when I've had guests on the show that are in this field. Not everybody, but I'm going to say 95% of everybody I talk to came into this working with divorced people or helping with relationships or helping people rebuild their lives because of their own experiences. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of authenticity in this area of the world
For
when
sure.
you've been through this. So, Cece, let's talk a little bit about the media platform and what you've built and how you see that as really being helpful for people going through divorce, because a lot of people who are listening to this podcast may not realize I have a completely different show. This is a shameless plug here, on Cece's network that is called Undoing We. So can you talk a little bit though about your network and what all the good stuff you do over there?
Yeah, the whole network started with just my show. And I was very fortunate to be on. I was on my girlfriend's show, and it talked about domestic violence within a relationship. I experienced it. I also experienced it within my divorce support group. And when I got out of there, they offered me, a platform. They offered me a show where everybody pays for a show. People out there don't realize it. The host actually, there's a financial commitment that they they do make when they do a show. But they offered me one for free. They said, "We love you so much. If you would just come on, because this is a topic that nobody is talking about." Back then, nobody was talking about divorce, how difficult it was, that transition to go through it without bashing the other party,
Right.
without, really taking that focus off of the other person and put it on yourself as you're moving forward in through the divorce. And so that just kind of blossomed. My shows, I now have several different shows because I feel that there's a need for them. The topics are there, there's a need for them. And then I connected with some friends that were actually, going through the podcast. Podcast became very big back then, and they were going through the podcast world. And I said, well, shoot, I think that nobody was marketing me. And I'm thinking, my gosh, I did start to end up paying for my show. And I thought, I got to get this out there because I need it. I know other people need it. And so how do I do that? And so that's how we came out with the distribution. So now we have wonderful shows on, not just about divorce, because as we're going through divorce, we're making that really tough move of transition and stepping forward into our new life, and maybe even embracing new relationships. And so that's very important. But also the fun aspect, we're now doing some cooking shows and different things like that. So we're having a lot of different fun with that. But yeah, it just really has blossomed into a big thing. And now we're out on pretty much, we started in radio, internet radio, then went into podcasting. Now we're into video, live video, and onto the Roku and some of the other major platforms. And we found that we're just embraced everywhere we go. Now the new thing is streaming. What's happening is people are picking up your stream. We do it live. They pick up our stream and then they put it right on their network and they play it. And I've gotten great responses. I mean, there was a station that did that for a couple months last year. They had almost 1 million hits. 1 million people listening to the content of our shows that are on there because there's nobody else that's doing something like that and authentic. I mean, our people are authentic. Our hosts have experienced it. Their guests have experienced life itself. And so all of the different topics they've experienced themselves, so they're authentic in their helpfulness and tips and things like that. And also that connecting, you watch a show and you want to be able to know that you connect with that person. So that's the beauty of it. Truly
Yeah.
the beauty of it.
And I love it because not only my show goes out on Thursdays and
Mhm.
the Undoing We, and it streams on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube at that time slot. And then it's also available evergreen on YouTube, and it shows up on the different, like you said, Roku and a few other platforms like that. And I think this is so neat and such a good idea because not everybody likes just listening to podcasts. Some people prefer the visual thing. It's nice to see it on your TV or on your computer. It's just there's a whole different thing when you can see the people talking as opposed to just listening to them.
Right. We learn different ways, right? We learn by audio, we learn by visual, and sometimes we learn by reading. And so we're doing more and more. This next year coming up, we're going to be doing a lot more with publications so we can get, more in a Word format so people can have that and can also refer back to it because that's the beauty of what we do. It's not a one-hit wonder. They can actually, it's on YouTube. They can go back and listen to it because many times during my healing process, I would hear something, but I wasn't at that point. And I'd say, oh, yeah, forgiveness. Like, heck, I'm ever going to forgive. I didn't understand what they were talking about,
Right.
forgiveness.
Right.
I mean, I was like, don't get out in busy traffic because I would probably run him over. I was like so mad at him and my life and everything else. But then I started understanding what forgiveness was about because when I started getting to that point and I was ready to listen to it and hear it and really devour it, understand it, then that was there for me. I was able to go back and listen to shows that are like that. And I listen to all kinds of shows. I listen to our shows. I listen to all kinds of shows that help me as an individual grow because that is what the Going Solo Network is about, is that we know that we have to continue our growth period. We have to continue being the best that we can be, right? And
Yeah.
connect with those type of people. It's like, raising your vibration to another level.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And I just want to throw in there too, there it's called the Going Solo Network, but it's really the positive side of this.
Mhm.
And I myself am single, not because of a divorce, but because of the death of my husband. And so there's a lot of the shows on there, why ever or however you got single, it's okay because there's still going to be common things that we're going to be looking forward in the future. And I love the variety of shows, and there's different shows for different groups. I know you have shows specifically that are hosted for veterans or people of
Mhm.
different faiths or people that are looking for different interests in their life. And I just think it is really cool how that all comes together. And
Well,
so,
go just to talk about the going solo. It's not. I mean, it originally started out with me being single, thinking I could connect other singles together. But then I realized as I'm moving forward in my life, I had to have a singular mindset,
right.
right? I started before I was always referring to my husband, oh, well, what do you think about this? What do you want to do about that? But I realized I had to start, standing up and putting on my big girl pants, and I had to start, doing the world out by myself. But I realized business is the same way. We have a singular mindset when we do things. So going solo is not just about being single, but it's also about encouraging you to dig deeper within yourself to find the answers that you need. And if you don't know what the answers are, then you listen to shows, you listen to other people of that have the knowledge and that you can embrace that to be able to make the decisions you want to make in life. So that's what truly going solo is about. Everybody thinks, oh, it's just a singles network. It's far more than that because it really is an inspiration and a development that we all have to go through individually.
Yeah, and the more I learn, the more I work with my clients, and the more I learn and study about human growth and development, it
Mhm.
really is the answers. You have to go inside to find the answers. If you are looking for somebody to externally solve your problems, you're just putting yourself back into that same toxic place as you were before. You got to be able to, you got to understand you before you can understand other people and work with them and do those things. So I know
Mhm.
you've talked a little bit about how your journey has shaped how you do these things. Why or how is your journey important to your message? And not necessarily yours, Cece, but how is anybody's journey kind of how do they turn their journey into a message? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we don't realize it. And, as we're going through, my thoughts about therapy was like, oh gosh, who needs therapy? It's just a bunch of wacky people trying to tell you what to do that don't really understand you. But the reality is that we all need some sort of help along the way. We need some sort of growth along the way as we're moving forward in life. And I've realized that I think that we as a community with joining other people that are going through the same things we're going through. They have an understanding with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that that's what it's all about is really being able to embrace the community around us. And that can be your friends, family, anyone that truly understands who you are. And then also digging deep within yourself and developing yourself as you continue to move forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that we have to continue that. And that's really what we're really all about.
Yeah, and I so agree because you're right. You can't think yourself out of a problem if you have no idea what the solution could be. It's just
Mhm.
you've got to get some support to help know what you need to do to be able to move forward. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the whole idea of life lessons and how those tie into moving forward, personal growth, wherever you want to take that, because I know that a lot of your shows focus on how those life lessons can really be learning experiences for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't understand about patterns in life, right? And about as we grow and we develop ourselves and our way of thinking. And I didn't realize that my relationships, when I was moving forward into relationships, I didn't realize how similar they were to each other. And when I was, and then I would get divorced and I would think, what's going on? Why can't because I am a very easygoing person. I'm easy to get along with. I'm fun. I mean, I'm thinking like, what the heck? Why is this not working for me? But then I realized that the two men there were the same.
Mm,
Their personalities were very much the same. And I was attracted to that type of personality. Then I had to ask myself, why am I attracted to that? What is maybe what's missing within me, or what do I feel insecure about that I have to, go towards that? And so that's what I think our life lessons are about. Is sometimes we walk the same walk, maybe with different people, and we don't quite understand those, right? And it's really our patterns in their life. We have to start thinking about that. We were always so quick to blame somebody else.
right.
Well, what my marriage didn't work because you were this, and that. Well, the reality is, I don't think my marriage worked, and now I'll just speak for myself. I don't think my marriage worked because I actually chose the wrong person. I chose the wrong person. And so that is really what it is for me. And so the more I start to understand myself, I understand the life lessons that I've experienced. I understand the patterns that I maybe need to change. I learn more about myself of what I want, what I don't want in life. And I think we're all that like that. So I think all my experiences, I think we're all, each and every person out there has those type of experiences, just maybe a little bit different
Yeah.
along the way.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to, when you're right in the thick of things, that's not the time to be super reflective and to start,
Mhm.
focusing inside and looking for this. But once you get clear of that, it is worth time. And I really encourage my clients, once you get through this, or if even before, if you can, when you're in the divorce process, start thinking, where are the patterns? I love that you mentioned patterns because I think they're important. Where are the
Mhm.
patterns? And then also, where are there things that, not that I did wrong or that I'm to blame for, but where are the things that I would like to make changes in myself?
Mhm.
Because once you acknowledge that, hey, I played a role in whatever happened, then you can make changes. If you never accept that, all you do is just keep doing the same thing over and over again, like you say, and then you get angrier and angrier because you're frustrated with what's happening.
Absolutely. And this is why I am such an advocate for coaches. I really feel coaches are so important, so vital in our lives. And they're specialty coaches out there that do all kinds of different things. And so whatever you're going through, I think there's a coach out there for you, and one that you can connect with that can kind of help be maybe your leader, your sounding board, kind of help point you in the direction that you maybe need to go, because sometimes we don't hear ourselves. We'll say things, we'll mean things, but we don't really listen to ourselves. And so sometimes we need a coach that says, well, wait a minute, I think you said, didn't I understand you say, and then you're like, okay, all right, I get that. So I really love coaches. And there's also elements of, let's say, if we're just talking about divorce, there's elements of divorce. There's all different kinds of elements. And you'll hear on our network, you'll hear people say, well, you need to build your team as you go through. And people say, oh my gosh, I don't want the expense of that. But you need to understand what your team would be consisting of. What do you need? A financial planner? Do you need, someone to help you go through the paperwork of divorce? Do you need someone to help you through the emotional part of divorce? Do figure out what it is that you do need? So there's so many different aspects of it, and there's life is complicated.
Yeah.
So why do we think we have to travel alone?
Yeah.
We don't have to be alone.
And you
So
raised a really good point. I hear that all the time. Well, what do you mean I need a divorce team? And I'm like, okay, you can go to your attorney and use them as your therapist and your financial planner and your coach and everything else. And they are the highest paid professional you're probably ever going to hire in your life. And you can blow, $500 or $600 an hour once a week to go sit in there and have the attorney say, sorry, that's not my wheelhouse. Or you can utilize people that are probably less than half of that cost, and you're going to get clear, precise information. Your attorney isn't a financial planner, your attorney isn't a therapist. And so there's so many different benefits to that team approach. Now, you do relationship coaching, Cece. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the biggest thing I think is missing as we move through, right? We're moving through divorce. We're getting through divorce. Then what the heck do we do, right? And we're thinking about, what do we want? Well, I hear a lot of people say, I never want to be married again. I never want a relationship again. I never want anything like that. And like, I said to you that I'm single. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm not in a relationship.
Right.
There's a total difference between the two. So the thing is you want to start relationship building, which means you want to start making friends and connections with people. How do you go about doing that? Especially when you're hurt, you're insecure about yourself, you really don't know how to go about doing it. It's all that transition. And so that's where I think we get stuck is in that transition of moving forward in our lives. A lot of times we don't even know what makes us happy anymore.
Yeah.
We say to ourselves, like when I got on mine, I was like, I did everything my ex wanted to do. I didn't really have a choice of what I wanted to do. So then I'm thinking like, well, what makes me happy? What do I want to do? And
Right.
so it's those kind of things. And it's building a relationship not only with the external people around you, creating, relationships with them, but it's also creating a relationship with yourself, better understanding what it is you want to do, what it is as you're moving forward in life, and like what kind of career do you want to do? Do you want to take up, I've had a lot of people that in our divorce support group that went into the arts. One's an actress, one does sculpting, painting. They've gone into doing that, and then that's my first thing I always say. Well, what did you want to do when you were in high school?
Right.
Did you want to play an instrument? Did you, let's start creating what we would say a bucket list, but let's create a life list.
Yeah.
Let's create that.
Yeah.
So that is what I think a relationship is you want to start building not only an external relationship with people because it's important
Hmm.
because as I said with going solo, you might be single and alone, but you'll never be alone, right?
Right.
So
Right.
you build a relationship, but you have to build that strong relationship with yourself as you move forward. So you
Yeah.
can say, no, I don't want this in my life. You want to be able to say that, as you start dating, you might date someone that really isn't, right for you.
Right.
And you've got to be able to say to yourself, that's not right for me. Good person, not saying they're a bad person, they're just not my person.
Yeah.
And so then you're able to move forward and with grace and dignity as you move forward into dating. So yeah.
Great, great information. Now I'm going to ask you the final question here. Well, not quite. There's a couple more. Here it is. Of all the stuff that we've talked about, and thank you for sharing all this because I really think that you have a unique perspective, not only on the like what people are going through as a coach, but also with your sphere of influence in the media and what you see people are doing and listening to. Of all this stuff we've talked about, what do you think is the biggest takeaway from today, Cece?
I think not to be afraid of stepping out of the box, right? To really think about yourself in a different way. Don't think about yourself as it is in the past. Think about how what you want to look like in the future. Because so often we want to live in the past. Well, this happened to me, that happened to me. We all have a past. We all have it. Some's pretty, some of it isn't so pretty,
Right.
But if we want to say to ourselves, okay, if I'm going to take today, I'm going to draw a line in sand, and how am I going to step over that and move forward into the life that I truly want? That's what we want. That's what we want to do. We want to step out of that box, across that line, and figure out what it is that we want in life. And sometimes we need a coach to help us along the way. Sometimes we just need a good friend that will listen to us, that will help us. Sometimes we just need to listen to various different shows to get inspired and start understanding what it is that we want to do. Because there's so many elements of our life. It's not just about, a relationship or maybe it's about a career, or maybe it's about just, figuring out what you want to do for the rest of your. I mean, there's like so many elements of life, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really embracing and not being afraid to embrace life and understand that it's really your choice, you know?
Yeah. What a great final message. Cece, if people want to find out more about you, want to watch your shows, listen in, find out more about your platform, what's the best way to do that?
Well, definitely. If you want to watch shows, you just go to newstreamingnetwork.com. That's newstreamingnetwork.com. Wonderful shows on. I have a bunch of shows on there. I know your show is on there. Undoing We is one of my favorite shows. I think it's a great show. So there's tons of shows on there. There's also, we've got a variety of different types of shows. So they're not just all about divorce or about dating or just about living life, inspirational. There's all kinds of, and just fun things too. We do cooking, things like that.
Yeah.
So you can go there. If you want to join me on the Going Solo Network, it's just goingsolonetwork.com. We have a couple groups there that you're more than happy to have you join. And then if you want to connect me directly, my email is goingsolonetwork@gmail.com. And I
Thank
answer all my emails directly. So it's
she does.
goingsolonetwork@gmail.com.
And
So yeah.
Cece
And
answers
if
fast.
I don't, send me another one. Say, answer me.
Cece, thank you for your time today. It has been such a pleasure having you on here to talk about what you do and to share your insight.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be on the show. And
And
I love talking with you.
oh,
Absolutely.
thank you so much. And thank you all for listening to this episode of The D Shift. And don't forget to tune in to the next one. Thanks for listening and supporting the D Shift podcast. If you would like to attend live trainings by our amazing guests and have a chance to ask questions and get answers from our experts, join the D Shift crew. For more details and to sign up, head on over to www.divorcecoachforwomen and click on the podcast page.